lot of folks are here because of the increased property tax bills that we all got last year.
People in Pembroke shuffling through proposed budgets, angry, annoyed, and confused.
If you're going to reduce our co-curriculars, we definitely need someone in our schools to keep an eye on our children and help keep them in line.
We need to make Pembroke better. So how are we going to make Pembroke better if we're going to keep cutting from our schools and the people who are making our children our future?
But not everyone is opposed to the school budget cuts.
I am for these cuts, and I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of invisible arrows at my back. But I'm a taxpayer. I want to be able to pay my bill.
School and town officials say the property taxes went up in part because enrollment was down at Pembroke Academy, also a decrease in state and federal money, property values going up, and tax increases that were voted in. Officials showed residents where the money could be cut. It includes eliminating some teachers, school employees, and co-curricular activities. But they also insisted nothing was definite.
What you say here can make a difference. And if it makes a difference to at least 2 individuals on the Municipal Budget Committee, then these cuts may go away, or at least be changed in some degree.
Residents can vote on the budget on March 10th here in Pembroke. Live in Pembroke, Jessica Moran, WMUR News 9.